Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Ms. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Blivens?
Yes.
Right? You may both lower your hands, and Mr. Dale, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. We're here today on the state's suit affecting the parent-child relationship for one child. Both parties are present. Ms. Ramos, the mother, her attorney's present, Ms. Charleston Mitchell. Your Honor, we have a partial agreement today as to health insurance only, Your Honor. We will require a hearing as to all other issues. The agreement is as follows, Judge. Parties agree that Ms. Ramos will be ordered to maintain the child on private health insurance via another source. And father shall pay cash medical support of $84 a month, Your Honor, beginning October 1st, 2024. That is the agreed issue, Judge. I'd like to call the mother first.
You may.
Okay, Ms. Ramos, what is your full name?
Jasmine Ariel Ramos.
Okay, and you're in agreement that you be ordered to maintain the child on the private health insurance that you've been doing so far, correct?
Yes.
And you are in agreement that Mr. Blevins shall pay $84 a month for that coverage?
Yes.
Okay. In the past, or you and Mr. Blevins used to live together, correct?
Yes.
When did you guys separate?
I moved out in June of 2023.
Were you guys living in Dallas?
Yes, in Garland.
Where does Mr. Blevins live now?
In Austin, I believe. Austin or Georgetown.
When was the last time you saw Mr. Blevins?
I believe it was in April.
And in the past 2 years, has there been any family violence incidences or altercations?
Yes, not after I left, but during our relationship, yes.
Okay. In the 2 years preceding you two separating, I should say, in the last 2 years of you two living together, was how many incidences occurred?
It was an ongoing thing. I really can't say how many specifically. It was an ongoing thing.
Okay, and were these acts of physical violence by yourself, and or were these acts of physical violence?
Yes.
Hold on one second, Mr. Dale. Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
We're in court, sir. I know you're at your home or in your office and you're very comfortable, but it's still court. So I'm going to ask you to refrain from drinking. We have to conduct ourselves like we were in a courtroom, sir.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. Mr. Dale, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. And these were acts of physical violence, Ms. Ramos?
Yes.
And who was the perpetrator typically?
Jesse.
Okay, can you describe some of these incidences for the court, please?
Pushing me, getting in my face, headbutting me, trying to get reactions out of me. So that way he used to try to get a reaction out of me, like self-defense. So that way he could turn it around on, oh, I did this or that, make me look like the aggressor. Emotional abuse, verbal. It was just, yeah.
Was the child ever harmed?
No, the child's never been harmed. Child would be present, but not harmed.
And there was an incident. Can you tell the court about the most recent incident?
The most recent physical incident?
Yes.
Probably over a year ago when we lived together.
Okay.
He yells, he gets in my face, headbutts me, pushes me into a corner, things of that nature. Punched me in the face once about 2 years ago in the jaw.
Were the police ever called?
I called the police multiple times. So there should be.
Did they ever show up? Were there any reports ever made?
There was the report when I got arrested. I don't remember what exact date that was. And I think that was the only report that was made.
Okay,
But I know I made several calls to the police.
was Mr. Blevins ever arrested?
No,
During this 2-year time frame, did you or him ever receive medical care for injuries?
no.
Do you have concerns about Mr. Blevins drinking alcohol?
Yes,
What kind of concerns do you have?
he drinks a lot. And
Okay.
he'll drink like a whole bottle in one sitting, then gets aggressive. And I don't feel comfortable with him, with my son
Okay.
alone.
When was the last time Mr. Blevins visited the child?
I think it was in April. We met up in Waco, I believe, and he had him for a few days.
He took the child back to Austin for a couple of days.
Yes.
Did you guys meet back up in Waco?
Yes.
Okay. What concerns do you have with Mr. Blevins continuing to have overnight visits with the child at this time?
Well, he doesn't have a stable home. He lives with his girlfriend right now, I think. He doesn't work. He is just not responsible. I believe he's not responsible. He drinks and smokes weed in front of our son, and he'll just leave him in the room with the playpen. I just don't feel like he watches him properly.
Have you ever met Mr. Blevins' significant other?
No.
You're asking that Mr. Blevins have supervised visitation at this point, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Who do you want to supervise?
I'm sorry?
Who do you want to supervise?
Well, I was under the impression that there are locations that we can go to.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's like a court thing. I don't know.
Okay, and you're asking that occur at Faith and Liberty Place in Dallas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And due to the history of family violence, you're asking that you be appointed sole managing conservator of the child, correct?
That's correct.
And since Mr. Blevins lives in Austin, you're asking that there be no geographical restrictions on where essentially you and the child can live. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And do you have any personal knowledge of Mr. Blevins' employment at this time?
As far as I know, he has not worked in a very long time.
Do you know what kind of work he used to do or is most qualified to do?
He was an electrician.
Okay. So you're asking the court to set his child support either based on minimum wage if he's not working or based on his income. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And since you and he separated, has he paid you any money directly for Antonio, the child?
He gave me, I was just looking through my records. He gave me, for the child, $70, $50, $445. And that's all I'm seeing here. He claims to have given, but I don't. I have a $1,300 payment for rent because he was living in my apartment. And then I also have a $530 payment for rent. That's all I have proof of.
When you say he was living in your apartment, he was living in your apartment with you?
We had an apartment together. I left in June 2023. I still had a lease, so I let him live there for June up until he moved to August. I believe it was in October, maybe early November. So I paid the rent while he was living there. He paid me.
And he paid you?
$1,300 once and then $400 or $530 another time. That's all I see.
Okay.
So, Ms. Ramos, how much did he pay you for the child during that time?
How much did he pay for the child?
Yes, direct payment.
I'm looking at screenshots I took. There's a $70 charge, $55, and a couple other little ones for like $10, $20. I'd have to, yeah, it's not a lot. 40. Yeah, I have documentation of it in my CashApp and in my Venmo.
Okay.
So I can provide that later. I'm kind of like scrolling through it right now.
So you're asking that he be ordered to pay you retroactive child support
That's correct. Yes.
Minus the direct payments for the child.
Yeah. Which I said was 400. Yeah. I'll provide documentation if needed later.
Okay. And you don't want your address in the order today, correct?
I don't.
Why not?
Because he has been harassing me and he sent police to my house. He's been making false accusations of me abusing my child. I work from home. I can't have distractions like police showing up to my house while I'm working and stuff like that. So I don't feel comfortable with him knowing where I live.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Any questions, counsel?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Ramos, now you mentioned earlier that you had been arrested for family violence, correct?
Yes.
Were you arrested because you were defending yourself?
Yes, I was.
And you also stated that Mr. Blevins abuses alcohol, correct?
Alcohol and drugs, various drugs.
Okay. And what was his alcohol of choice?
Various types of liquor, usually Crown Royal, different types of liquor, tequila.
Often would he drink?
Every time he got money, so not very often. Well, yeah, when he would drink, I would say maybe once a weekend. When he had a job, it was like more often, several times a week.
Okay.
But when he would drink excessively.
Okay. And would you say that the instances of family violence between the two of you, would that happen after he had been drinking?
Not just from drinking, no. There was times when he was sober too. He also had a really bad Xanax habit. So most of the family violence was when he was on Xanax.
Okay.
And cocaine. He's done cocaine a lot as well.
When was the last time he contacted you directly?
I'd have to look at my messages. He messaged me on WhatsApp on, it looks like August 20th. And that was it. And he was just asking to see our son. And I told him we would speak in court.
Okay. Have you blocked him from all of your other platforms?
I block him on everything. I
Why?
just blocked him on WhatsApp.
Why'd you block him?
Because he was sending me harassing messages, sending me threatening messages, messaging my family, messaging my friends, accusing me of doing drugs and beating our child, and messing with me while I'm working. So that's why I blocked him on everything.
Do you think it would be in your son's best interest for Mr. Blevins to be drug tested?
I do.
Okay.
And not a pee test because he knows how to fake those.
Okay. So you're asking for a hair follicle or a toenail test?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you think that would be in your son's best interest prior to any visitations being made?
I do.
Okay. And so far as the supervised visitation, you're asking that the supervised visitations take place here in Dallas?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're asking that you be named as the sole managing conservator for your son?
That's correct.
You believe that's in your son's best interest?
I do.
Okay. Now you understand that supervised visits won't be forever, correct?
I do. I get that.
Okay. And so let me rewind. How old is your son?
He is about to turn 3 in October.
Okay. I'll pass this.
Ms. Ramos, he lived in the house with you and Mr. Blevins for the first 2 years of his life?
In an apartment, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you let him go stay with his dad in April for a few days?
Uh-huh.
And were there any incidents when he went to stay with his dad in April for a few days?
No, everything was fine. It wasn't until May, I have to look in here, I think it was May 18th that we started having problems. That's when I suspected he was using drugs again.
So when you say you started having problems, what kind of problems did you start having?
He, on May 18th, started calling me, harassing me, sending me a lot of threatening text messages. I have proof, sending messages to my family, sending messages to my friends,
But
threatening
none
to
of that
call.
had anything to do with your son, right?
Yeah, he was saying that I'm beating our son. There's been times in the past where I sent him pictures of our son because he had like a bruise or something, just communicating with him. And he's sent me the pictures back saying, I have proof that you've been beating him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Any other questions of this witness, Mr. Dale?
No, Judge.
You, counsel?
No, no further questions.
Okay. And but he hasn't seen your son since April,
that's correct.
and there were no incidents in April.
No.
And when was the last time he saw your son before the April visit?
I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to look through our messages. He would see him every couple months. We'd meet up in Waco.
And were there any incidents those times when he saw him?
No, just us arguing sometimes. But
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. Any questions that I prompt from that? No?
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Okay. Then, Mr. Dale, you can call your next witness.
I'll call the father. Mr. Blevins, what is your full name?
Jesse Scott Blevins.
And Mr. Blevins, you're in agreement to pay $84 a month for private health insurance reimbursement, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about your employment first. Are you currently employed?
I did start on Monday. Yes.
Okay.
But I haven't started yet.
Okay. Where will you start on Monday?
At Elite Pros,
What kind of work is that?
electrical.
Okay. Will you be paid hourly or will you have a salary?
It's hourly.
How much will you make per hour?
It's supposed to be 28.
How much?
28.
And how many hours a week will you be working?
It should be 40.
Okay. Do you have any other biological children under the age of 18?
No, sir.
Okay. And you understand that based on your income, that the child support based on the guidelines would be $796 a month?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yeah, that's what we talked about that. Yes.
Okay. And you agree or disagree to pay that amount?
No, I disagree.
Okay. How much are you asking the court to set your child support at?
On 500.
Okay. Why?
Just living expenses, and that's what I can afford.
Okay. Any other reason?
No. She don't even have to pay no rent or nothing like that.
Hold on,
She
Mr.
just-
Talley. Did we lose
I
Miss Mitchell?
think her attorney dropped off.
I
I
was going to say,
think.
did we lose Miss Mitchell?
Judge, I know she's, I think with Judge Adkins this morning too. Or there,
Here I am. Judge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure you were
My
here.
call just dropped. Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Dale.
Mr. Blevins, any other reason you're asking for 500?
No.
Okay. When did you and Miss Ramos stop living together?
Well, she was still coming around. It was last year. She was still coming to the house, staying nights and stuff like that until October.
Objection non-responsive.
Objection sustained. What was your question, Mr. Dale?
When the parties stopped living together?
When did you guys stop living together?
She moved out in June, but she still had things there, and she still stayed there until October, like off and on.
Okay.
Okay. And Mr. Blevins, when did you move to the Austin area?
In November.
And why did you move to Austin?
Honestly, to get away from her, she was calling my work. She was having me. I got lost a few jobs. She was coming to the house acting crazy, calling the cops for no reason. And every time she did this, they just told her that there's nothing. He's not doing nothing. There's nothing we can do about it. And she does that when she gets mad. And
Okay. And you're asking that you be able to have overnight visitations per the family code with your child, correct?
yes, definitely.
Okay. And why do you think that'd be in your child's best interest?
Why wouldn't it be? But everything she's over there saying, she's fabricating stories over there, and It's ridiculous, honestly.
When was the last time you visited the child?
The last time that she met up with me, which was I want to say the end of April, around May.
And that was when you guys met in Waco and you took Antonio for a couple of days to Austin, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And since you guys separated, how many times has Antonio spent the night with you for business?
Over here to stay for a week at a time, for several, like longer than a weekend if I had time off. And then when I moved to Austin, and I brought him with me, stayed a week for a little over a week for Thanksgiving. And then I went to Dallas to visit for Christmas, and, we spent a couple days there. And then when I came back to Austin, I seen him like a month later. She kept saying that she was going to get her car. Her car was messed up. She's going to meet me halfway. And I even sent her money to help fix her car, and she still never got it fixed. And then finally, she
Objection overruled.
finally she decided to can I continue?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Finally she decided to meet me, and that was in I want to say like January, around, or the end of January, maybe February. And then again, it was, okay, well, she'll come meet me again in a couple of weeks, but she never did, and she never did. And finally, she would say like, "Oh, I'm going to come this weekend, or I'll let you know." And then
I'm going to object to narrative.
Objection sustained. Mr. Blevins, just answer the questions that you're asked, okay?
Okay, so
Mr. Blevins, when you and Miss Ramos were living together, did you ever hit her?
no.
How long did you guys live together?
At least 3 years.
Okay, and there was no physical violence on your part at all
No.
during that time period?
No.
Okay. And since you and Miss Ramos separated, did you pay Miss Ramos any money directly for the child?
Yes.
How much?
A few $1,000s. I do have some records of it. Some of it was cash, but I do have records where I've sent her 500, 400. Maybe like little times where she just asked for diapers and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely sent her money.
Would you agree to pay any retroactive or back child support to Miss Ramos in the order?
No.
Why not?
Because I've helped her out, and all throughout the time we've been separated, for my son. Also, when we lived together, I paid like everything, and for the longest, I have receipts of that. She wants to bring up the CashApp. I have $24,000 receipt that I've sent her. I've sent her dad money off. I'm pretty sure I'm paid up.
Objection narrative.
Objection sustained.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Any questions, counsel?
Mr. Blevins, where were you working prior to this job at Elite Pros?
Town court.
Okay, and what were you doing for them?
Electrical.
Okay, and how long did you work for that company?
I've been with them for 3 years. 2 years, something like 2 years.
Okay, and how much were you paid for that company?
The last I made with them, I believe, was 28, maybe 29.
$28 per hour?
Yeah, it changes because they're a temp service, so each job would vary.
Okay, and what period of time did you work for them?
From 2021 to this year. Like, it's off and on with them.
Okay, when was the last time you had an assignment with them?
About 3 months ago.
So sometime in what, May or June?
I'd say around May.
And how long was that assignment for?
About a month or so, something like that.
Have you ever had any issues with alcohol abuse?
I call it abuse. No, I've had drinks, but no, I don't even drink like that.
How often do you
So
drink?
definitely not abuse.
How often do you drink?
Maybe once a month. Not
Have you
much.
have you ever used any illegal drugs?
I've smoked weed before, yes, in my younger days.
Have you ever abused Xanax?
No,
Have you ever taken Xanax?
no.
I'll pass this witness.
Any further questions, Mr. Dale?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
Ms. Ramos, can you unmute yourself? I have a question of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you arrested?
We were fighting. I threw a glass. As soon as the police came in, they tried to arrest him. And immediately I said, no, it was me. I threw a glass. And I just took the blame. So I thought I was worried that he would lose his job at the time. And he was the one paying the rent.
So what happened to the charges?
I filed no contest while I was in jail, and I don't know. I'm not really sure. I've never been arrested before, so I don't know what they did, or
Okay.
I believe I still have a charge, yes.
Okay. And so out of all the times you called the police, there was only one arrest, and that was of you.
Yes,
And that was because you told them it was you.
yes.
Okay.
Didn't want him to lose his job. I didn't want him to get arrested.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Blevins,
Yes.
have you ever used drugs, smoked marijuana, or been intoxicated when the child was in your presence?
No.
After I ask my questions, does it prompt anyone else to ask any questions?
May I ask my client a few questions, Judge?
Yes.
Ms. Ramos, when you've called the police for the many instances of domestic violence, did they file a report?
They did. What they filed, I don't know. I also want to throw out, he did get, he overdosed January 1st of 2021, or I'd have to look it up. I think it was 2021. So there is record of him overdosing on drugs in 2021.
And what drugs did he overdose on?
I believe it was Percocet, and it was a mix of things. He was on Xanax, Percocet, I don't know. Cocaine.
And where was your son at?
He wasn't born at that time.
Where was your son at?
He wasn't born at that time.
Okay. Have there been times that where he's been high or drunk around your son?
What did you say? Can you repeat the question?
Have there ever been times where he's been high or drunk? Have there ever been times where he's been high or drunk around?
I heard you that time. Sorry. Yes, there has been.
Okay. When was the last time you observed him being high or drunk around your son?
When we lived together in June. And
Okay.
I know he drank.
Now you stated back Okay. You testified earlier that in April you had some concerns because you felt like he had been drinking or had been high. Why did you have those concerns? What was his behavior like that prompted you to have those concerns?
He will post on Facebook bottles of alcohol on his stories, and he'll post weed sometimes. So that's what makes me think that he is doing drugs.
Okay, so nothing about his behavior prompted you or gave you any cause for concern with regard to him drinking or doing drugs?
You know, talking to him on the phone, I can know when he sounds drunk. Other than that, no, nothing else cause for concern.
When was the last time on the phone?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
When was the last time you talked to him on the phone and he sounded like he had been drinking?
Probably back then in April. I don't know an exact time, but I know I haven't spoken with him on the phone since before May. So.
Okay, I'll pass this witness.
Ms. Ramos, did you know before you conceived your son and had him that Mr. Blivens smoked marijuana?
I did.
Did you know he drank a lot?
I did.
Okay. And you still decided to have a child by him. Is that correct?
By my mistake, yes.
Okay. Do you drink?
I do not.
Do you smoke marijuana?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you don't do any kind of drugs?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Blivens, you
Yes.
heard my questions to Ms. Ramos.
Yes.
Are her answers honest?
No, I drink on every once in a while, and when I do, she drank with me. And this is crazy. She the actual stopped talking to me because I asked her if she was high because she was like eating cereal and like slurring. And when I started asking
Okay,
her about
sir.
it,
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Dale?
No, Judge.
Okay. Then I will accept the agreement of the parties so far as there is an agreement. I will order child support at $796 a month. I will order a retroactive child support judgment of, $4,000 even. I will order that the parties be joint managing conservators of the child. I will order that visitation be supervised at, I don't know what place, for 2 months. After that, it'll be standard.
is great. Is there a reason why I didn't get to speak like she did, or what's going on there?
What do you mean you didn't get to speak?
Well, she got to lay out a whole bunch of lies, and I didn't even get to speak the truth of what even happened and why she quit talking.
Mr. Blivens, I've heard enough now, okay? I'm sorry, I
Right.
thought you had said everything you wanted to say.
She has family violence, and that's
Joint
it.
managing conservators, there'll be no family violence finding. Where am I? Visitation will be supervised for 2 months. Then it'll go to standard for someone over 100 miles away. Court costs as billed. All start dates will be October. Mr. Dell, did you tell me a payout amount on the retro?
$70, Judge?
Okay. Retro will be paid at $70 per month. And Ms. Ramos, does Mr. Blivens know where you live now?
He does know where I live currently, but we are planning on moving soon.
So have you had any problems with him coming to your house unannounced or?
No, only because he lives in Austin. But like I said, he did send the police to my house while I was working.
How many times?
Just once.
Were they just doing a welfare check on your son?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there'll be no non-disclosure.
And excuse me,
Yes, sir.
is there a reason her family violence is being overlooked? And also, I have messages
The
where her
same
dad
reason yours is overlooked, sir.
Yeah, but hers on record. Mine is hearsay.
I am not ordering family violence for either one of you.
Also, her father's abusive. I have the messages where she's begging me to pick her up at midnight.
Her
while she's standing
father
on the
is
corner
not
with
a
the kid.
part of this case.
He lives with them. She lives with them. That's what I'm saying.
Her father is not a part of this case. He is not a party to the case, and he's not a part of this case.
He's part of my son's life, though.
Okay, so, sir, I have made my rulings.
Right.
If you don't like them, if you don't agree with them, if you think they're wrong, you have 3 days to appeal and 30 days to file a motion for new trial. Okay? Is there anything further, anything I left out, Mr. Dale?
supervising judge?
Ms. Mitchell, do y'all have someone who can supervise? I know they're to be in Dallas, or do y'all want them to go to Faith Liberty Place?
Faith and Liberty's place, Judge.
Okay, so it'll be at Faith and Liberty Place,
For 2 months,
just for 2 months.
okay?
What does that consist of? I can ask that.
Yes, sir. It's a organization where you'll have to register. Ms. Ramos will have to register. You will have to let them know when you want to visit. And I believe there is a slight cost.
And what if I decide that I'm just not going to do that?
Then you won't visit with your son.
Okay.
Your Honor, now that I'm thinking, I think Faith and Liberty Place requires a family violence finding. I think
Well, she got that.
started in the past year from
Do
my,
y'all have some other place where they can supervise the visitation? Or do you, Ms. Mitchell or Ms. Ramos or Mr. Blivens, do you have someone in Dallas who can supervise the visitation?
I mean, my sister. That's the only person I have. Only family member I have.
In Dallas?
Yeah.
Judge, I think that we can go to the B&E Center, the B&E Center.
I don't think we need to go to no centers or anything. That's absurd and ridiculous that this is even happening.
What is the problem with his sister?
She don't like her. That's all.
Who
That's it.
doesn't like her? Your sister doesn't like
Jasmine.
Ms. Ramos, or Ms.
No,
Ramos
no.
doesn't like your sister?
Yeah, Jasmine don't like my sister. That's it.
What's your sister's name?
Chelsea Blevins.
How old is she?
She's 32.
Okay. Who does she live with?
She lives on her own.
Does she have any children?
She has one, yes.
And how old is that child?
His name's Austin. He just turned 6.
Just turned?
6?
Okay. So
6 years.
I'm gonna let his sister supervise the visitation. I'm also gonna put an injunction in that says you 24 hours prior to and during the visits with a child, there can be no alcohol or drug use.
Yeah, of course.
Will we be able to get his sister's address?
Yes, Ms. Mitchell, but I will ask that you guys go in a breakout room to get that. So it's just not all over the internet.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Is there anything else?
There's nothing further from me, Judge.
Anything further from you, Mr. Dell?
no, Judge, thank you.
Okay. Then good luck to all of you, and you're all free to go. And remember that you have 3 days to appeal and 30 days to file a motion for new trial. This is out of the 256th District Court. That's Judge Sandre Streeter.
Am I allowed to speak?
I'm done. Nothing else to
Oh.
talk about, Ms. Ramos.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to the breakout room.
Yeah, you guys go to the breakout room now. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks.
Thank you.